I have planned everything for you. You must follow these steps precisely. His name is Otto Wallisch. You must find him. You must kill him.
7:44, just a clip there from the new movie Remember, the 15th feature film for this gentleman right here, Adam Egoyan. We bow down to the greatest.
Oh, yes, sure.
Last night you had the feature at the Film Fest here in Vancouver. What's the feeling like? You get to debut the film and then have a conversation with the people that just love film. What is that like for you as a director?
Well, this one in particular means a lot to me because it was at the Queen Elizabeth, and I was raised in Victoria, so I used to come over and see shows at that theater, and always dreamt of one day having a play put on there or something. So it was really nice to be in a packed house, and it was a very warm response. And so this particular screening here in Vancouver meant a lot to me just because of my connection to the city as a kid growing up. And so it's different from other places where you go and you don't really know the people, or you don't really know the sensibility. So it was nice. And the questions were great, and it was just very, very emotional. And I think the ending of the film is really emotional for people too. And so it's great to have the conversation right afterwards. And it's a tough conversation to have beforehand because if you haven't seen the film, you can't kind of give it away. So it was nice. And actually, more than any other film, I really enjoy having the conversation about this movie.
And I think that's one of the best parts of the festival, is to connect with the piece and then find out the vision behind it.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is a movie that strikes a universal chord about how do you deal with trauma in life. And you've got Christopher Plummer leading the way as the character of Zev, and then Martin Landau. When you have veterans of this caliber that can act, how do you approach that as a director with this versus, newcomers to the game with their preparation? How does that differ for a director?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, I think that, I'd worked with Christopher Plummer before, so and Martin Landau. I'd done a TV show with Martin Landau 30 years ago. So I knew with Christopher that he's really prepared. Like when he comes on set, he's made the choices through the conversations you've had, and he wants to do that interpretation. He doesn't want to do a lot of takes. He doesn't want to keep trying it. He finds that exhausting. Honestly, I do too. Most younger actors want to keep trying, want to try different things, and that just takes up a lot of energy. And so I appreciated the fact that he was really tight and focused, and it's just a different methodology. It's also that you're dealing with, these actors are 85 years old, so they have it's not like going to be a 13-hour shooting day. It's not going to be just it's physically not possible. But you're also dealing with their legacy and their history. And I remember when I was working with Martin Landau on a TV show called Alfred Hitchcock Presents, and he's a guy who's worked with Alfred Hitchcock. He was directed by Alfred Hitchcock and North by Northwest. And so these people have a repository of history, and this film is all about that notion of how to deal with history. It's great to have these actors who actually are connected to their own sense of what history means. That sounds a little vague, but anyway, I can't talk about the film without giving it away, but it's a very, very tense journey, and it's a very emotional experience for them.
And with that emotional impact, and you're dealing with survivors of the Holocaust, realizing something, going after the revenge, what is it about this content that really spoke to you that you said, okay, I need to tell this story?
I've dealt with trauma and kind of notions of suppressed anger, rage in a lot of my movies. A lot of the characters are actually dealing with that process, but usually in the structures that I use, it's multi-layered and it's very complex. What attracted me about this story is that it's really simple. You think it's a very classic revenge tale. This guy has lost his family in the war. He's on a revenge mission to seek out the people, responsible for murdering his family. But then you realize that there's something else going on, that the nature of the revenge and the nature of the violence is not what you think, and something else kind of explodes. And it's kind of, I love that. I love the fact that it was just so simple and very different from my other films, and I'd focused on this one towering performance by Christopher Plummer. I think that he gives a kind of a career-defining performance. It's a radical performance because he's suffering from dementia. Even though he's on this hunt, he keeps forgetting why. He keeps forgetting why he has a gun in his hand. He keeps forgetting why he's in this hotel room, why he's got these, assassination orders. And so he's wrestling with memory, but then we realize that he's wrestling with something else much darker than his dementia. There's a trauma that he hasn't even begun to explore, and it kind of explodes on screen.
So many themes to play with. This movie comes out in a couple weeks in October. Congratulations on this. Thank you for coming back to Vancouver. I know the roots are in Victoria. Great to see this at the Film Fest this year.
Thank you.
Adam, all the best on the rest of the tour.
Right.
All right.